By January 1985, the victory tour was history. Though it hadn't been an easy experience, Michael did find a pile of gold at the end of the rainbow. Chuck Sullivan gave him $18 million cash to develop a clothing line. Michael barely got a new fashions into the stores, which didn't sell when Chuck went bankrupt. Michael got to keep the 18 million. The Jacksons made a lot of money on the victory tour, even if the promoters didn't, which each brother made about $7 million, 1/6 of the share after all expenses net. Michael donated his take to charity. His brothers spent theirs on a lavish lifestyle and, before very many years, would need to work again. Michael has never again gone on the road with his brothers, though they have repeatedly tried to convince him to do just one more tour. Once they go home to Encino, one of the first things Michael did to get into Latoya's black Mercedes Benz 450 SEL and speed off without any security. He simply wanted some freedom. After, if he could ever have it, as always, there were about 2 dozen fans waiting at the front gate for someone, anyone, who looked like a Jackson. They never dreamed they might actually catch a glimpse of the Jackson. When they saw him pull out of the gate, they jumped into the cars and followed him in hot pursuit. Michael tried to lose them, but to no avail. It was almost to Quincy Jones' house miles away when the car ran out of gas. Michael jumped out of the Mercedes, leaving it in the middle of the street, and then ran for blocks, with his stalkers following him until he reached Quincy's home, where he found refuge. After the victory tour, Michael became involved in We Are the World, the historic effort to feed the hungry of Ethiopia. For some time, Harry Belafonte had been making plans to draw together some of the biggest artists in the entertainment business to record a song, the proceeds of which will go to a few nonprofit foundation, USA for Africa, to feed the starving masses, in addition to providing emergency food, medical relief, and self-help programs to stricken areas of Africa. The undertaking was also to set aside funds for hunger relief in the United States. Harry contacted Ken Cregan, an entertainment manager with a history of fundraising, to ask if he would enlist his clients, Kenny Rogers and Lionel Richie, on the endeavor. Kenny and Lionel, in turn, obtained the cooperation of Stevie Wonder and added more name value to the project. Lionel then telephoned Michael to ask if he would perform on the recording. He not only wanted to sing on the song, Michael said, he also wanted to help Lionel write it. Michael has always been apathetic to the plight of the hungry, homeless, and sick, especially children. In the past, Frank Delia has told many heartbreaking stories of Michael's influence on dying children. It is as though an unexplainable part within Michael is able to reach children close to death. His touch seems to act as some kind of soothing balm for kids facing a frightening time. An important positive side of Michael and what he thinks is the best thing about himself. For instance, a small child suffering from a brain tumor and spinal cancer was brought to Michael on a stretcher one night after a show. When the boy reached up to Michael, Michael grabbed his hand and held tight. The child smiled. Frank turned his hand and oh, turned away and broke into tears. He is not afraid to look into the worst suffering and find the smallest part that's positive and beautiful, Frank concluded. Seth Riggs, his voice teacher, who was traveled with Michael on tours, recalled every night the kids would come on in stretchers, so sick they could hardly hold their heads up. Michael would kneel down at the stretchers and put his face right down beside theirs so he could have his picture taken with them, and then give them a copy to remember the moment. I couldn't handle it. I'd be in the bathroom crying. The kids will perk up right in his presence. If it gave them a couple of days more energy to Michael, it was worth it. While working on Where Are the World, Lionel Richie went to Hippenhurst every night for a week where he and Michael sequestered themselves in Michael's room to labor on lyrics and melodies. They knew that what they want was wanted some sort of anthem, a song both easy to sing and memorable. Though Michael and Lionel have never said as much publicity, Latoya, who watched the pair work, claims that Lionel only wrote a couple of lines of the song. She contends that 99% of the lyrics were written by Michael, but he's never felt it necessary to say it. The lyrics and the melody were finished on January 21st, 1985, just one night before the recording session. While Michael and Lionel were composing, Ken Cregan went about the business of lining up all the star cast. Bruce Springsteen, Tina Turner, Bette Midler, Billy Joel, Ray Charles, Diana Ross, Diane Warwick, the Pointer Sisters, Stevie Wonder, Cyndi Lauper, Willie Nelson, Smokey Robinson, Bob Dylan, and many others, 45 in all. I know that 50 artists had to be turned down to keep the project from becoming too unwieldy. Michael asked Latoya to show up, and she did. She got to stand next to Bette Builder in the lineup. Marlon, Jackie, Teal, and Randy were also there. Quincy Jones took time away from producing the film The Color Purple to produce and arrange with Tom Ballard the Jackson Ritchie collaboration at A&M Studios in Hollywood because the American Music Awards had been held the same night. Many of the artists came directly from those festivities. When the performers showed up, the first thing they saw was a big sign outside Studio A. Please check your egos at the door. It was astonishing that so many artists of diverse backgrounds and individual renown were able to do just that. There were no ego problems at all. Dana Ross could not conceal her excitement and asked the other stars for autographs. The Pointer Sisters took pictures of Michael. I never felt that strong sense of community, Kenny Loggins observed. At around 10 p.m., the producings turned solemn. Ken Cregan addressed the group to assure them that money generated from the recording would indeed go to the right places. Bob Geldof, the leader of the Bobtown Rats and organizer of the British band Aid musical charity effort, which produced the single Do They Know It's Christmas, told of his visit to Ethiopia. Two Ethiopian women, whose prisons had been arranged by Stevie Wonder, reported on the horrible suffering there. Finally, Michael addressed the assemblage of stars. Very clearly and somewhat awkwardly, he explained his and Lionel's composition as a love song to inspire concern about a faraway place close to home. The musical tracks had been recorded earlier in the day, so it's just a matter of fine tuning the lyrics. Should it be brighter or a better day? And adding the voices. Michael taught the artist the melody and lyrics. Most had already been sent tape demos of the song with Michael performing. I worked with them on vocal arrangements. As integral as Michael Jackson had become to the process, he was also very much separated from it, whereas everyone else present was filmed by six cameras as they performed for Will the World video. Michael's solo was taped there, privately and spliced into the final version. He never took off his shades. Some people speculate that he chose not to record with the rest because he was so awestruck by his fellow celebrities. The ultimate perfectionist, he would feel that he could not perform to the best of his abilities in front of them. Others offer a more cynical explanation. Michael feels like he is different from everybody and emphasizes this difference by erecting barriers between him and his fans, his peers, and his family. Indeed, in the video of Where Are the World, the shot of Michael begins at his bows wearing shoes and trademark sequin socks, and then pans upward to his carefully made up face, all at Michael's direction. People know it's me as soon as they see the socks, he said proudly, and was right about that. Try taking footage of Bruce Springsteen's socks and see if anyone knows who they belong to, he added with a grin. The recording and taping session took all night. Who had seen that with whom had been decided a couple of days earlier by Lionel Richie, producer Quincy Jones, and arranger Tom Baller. Some of the interesting vocal pairings included Tina Turner with Billy Joel, Donna Warwick with Willie Nelson, and of course, Diana Ross with Michael Jackson. The only hit of things not going as planned involved the pairing of Michael and Prince. Michael didn't like Prince, but for charity he would sing with him. However, Prince didn't even show up. At 6 in the morning, he called the studio to ask if he might come in and lay down a guitar part. Quincy told him it was too late. By 7:30 in the morning, the job was done and the artists began to leave. Michael was as exhausted as anyone. Jeffrey Osborne reported. He didn't say much, maybe something about being very happy, but I could tell that he was delighted. I did expect to see some more ego, Paul Simon reported. You know, the gloved one meets the boss and things like that, but it just didn't happen. I just don't want this night to end, Dana Ross said as she hugged Tina Turner. It seemed that everyone who participated in the We Are the World recording session shared Diana's sentiments. The gentle, uplifting spirit of the song also touched the public's emotions when it was finally released in March 7th, 1985. The initial shipment of 800,000 recordings sold out within 3 days of its release. The song was number one in America for a month and also spent a couple of weeks on the top spot in Britain as well as in other countries. The World of the World video lent itself well to the benevolent spirit of celebration and helped to sell 4 million records in all, earning about $8 million for the USA for Africa Fund.